think we should jump into our first question here.
What is that, John?
Yeah, we get a bunch that come in. So email us anytime. Comment questions below, and we're gonna kind of pick them as we go here. So first question: pre-COVID, we had a lot of trouble staying organized as a worship team. We have binders and boxes full of music, and I felt like we still made so many copies of the music. I see a lot of people using iPads nowadays. Are there better ways to stay organized? That's a
great question, John.
It really is.
And I just think
sounds
this is
like
funny.
Me 10 years ago, like for real.
This is me right now.
Yeah.
Except I use the tools, but I need all the help I can get. Staying organized.
We were chatting about this beforehand, and we were like, "Oh man, we are not very well organized souls ourselves." So we were like we were just laughing about it. Like, man, I was definitely in this situation a handful of years back, and I was reaching out to churches asking, "What are you doing here? How are you organizing music?" We have 13 binders and boxes full of tunes, and I keep making copies of stuff. Like, I can completely relate to this question. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with a church that said, "Dude, Planning Center is what you need to be using." And I was like, "What's Planning Center?" And he's like, "Oh my gosh." So that was a big deal. Planning Center.
Online.
Yeah, planningcenteronline.com. Go there, and if you have no idea what it is, do your research. You don't have to just take it from us, but it was a game changer. We use Planning Center for absolutely everything. You can put your worship music in there. You can have your scriptures built in there. What your sermon topic is for that week. If you're in a teaching series like Nolan's church and my church do, you can put all your information there for your teaching series. Any notes that you have for the production team. Again, it's just kind of this central hub spot for everything worship and planning.
I love
there's an integration. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I love how not only for our worship teams, like we can send them invites and they can tell you if they're available or not. They can block things off. So you're communicating with your worship team, but not just that, you're communicating with your pastors. You're communicating with, we do like ushers and people who are doing liturgy and cantors and the choir director and whoever needs to be part of that. So you're all on the same schedule. It's a one-stop shop so that everybody knows what's going on prior to what's happening, and then they can follow along either on their mobile device or on a sheet of paper that's printed out. We've got our tech teams, people who are doing the slideshows for presentation, the people who are doing lights if that's necessary, the people who are doing sound, the people who are doing cameras, all have the same order of worship with all the details in it beforehand. So they know exactly what's going on, so we can execute to the fullest extent.
Right. If you can spend less time planning, worrying about who's responsible for this, what's happening over here, you can spend way more time being in the worship and leading that worship to the fullest of your ability. It's just such a big deal. The integration they have with Song Select is probably the highest functioning piece we use, or the most, you know what I'm saying? We use that every week where you click on that song name. So if I'm a guitar player in the band, I would log into my Planning Center account after I've hit accept that, yes, confirming I'll be there for this coming Sunday. I can access then the worship music from home, and I can practice it at home. I can see what key we're going to do it in. I can print it off at home, bring my own music. So suddenly now they have the control of all that music. So you're not sifting through all these boxes of copies of stuff at church anymore. You can put on your team, hey, you're responsible to bring your own music on Sunday, or you're responsible to create your own binder. One of our electric guitar players prints it at home every week, puts it in his own binder, and he just saves that binder. So he has his own binder of music. And I know a lot of people go that route and have gone that route for a long time. But this gives you the opportunity to do that. And on top of that, they have an app called Music Stand, Song Select does. And on Music Stand, you can be using an iPad. So that question mentioned an iPad. You can use an iPad or a phone, and you can have your chord chart right there on your iPad or your phone. So you're never printing again in that case. I don't know the last time I printed music for myself. I use everything on an iPad or on a phone now.
And what's neat about that is if you are going through rehearsal with your team and I would say we're going to change this chord to this, or we'll do this order, you can write in those notes. And then when you come back to that song the next week or 3 months down the road, it's saved in there. So if it's like, how did we do that again? Oh, we wrote it in here, and that song saves the notes that you have created.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. And
it is really cool.
On the sort of nerdy musician side, if you're playing a song in B flat, and no guitarist really loves to play in B flat, you can save a capoed version in there. So the bass player and the keyboard player are playing in B flat, but you can set it so there's a capo version so that the guitar player can say, okay, I'm going to play in G in capo 3, and it has that all there for you too, which is just slick.
Right. Absolutely.
And as we get to this time, we're just over 2 months before Easter here, which is crazy to me how fast this year's been flying by. But this is about the time where we start planning extensively for Easter. We've already kind of got our ideas, but now we're going to really dig into that. And so my pastor could say to me, remember what we did 3 years ago? And if I were in binders and a notebook, I would have no clue. But with Planning Center, you just go in and you say the last 3 years, you go back to the Easter service, you bring it up. Usually I'll bring up the last 3 years. So every year for the last 3 years, print them out. And then we take the ideas we like, make our new thing, and then build it again for this year in Planning Center so we can look at it again next year.
Right.
It's super slick. I mean, it makes people who are unorganized like me feel and look organized.
Yeah, it makes it look a lot more organized.
Right.
I agree. And it takes time. There's a learning curve. So, I mean, there's all these solutions with it, but what you've been doing for years is what you've been doing for years. So either way, it's trying to figure out how to migrate that into a mobile-friendly solution that you can access on your phone anywhere. We were just chatting a little bit ago about, what are you doing for your recording session next week? In 15 seconds, I could pull it up on my phone and see what it was, what we're doing, what keys we're doing them in, like what it's going to look like. And that's a big deal, especially in today's world. And if you're not moving that direction to get things more mobile, better connected for your team, well, then you're not doing it right. You're not taking it seriously enough, in my opinion.
For those who have traditional services, you could certainly still use the hymnal. I've got this here for my recording that I'm doing in a little bit for hymn library. But you could also, as we're doing both, I'll just put the hymn that we're doing and then scan in a picture of the music and then put it in. So if you're going from a traditional to a modern, you can see them both on your screen and make the same notes. But then, when we have a live in-person worship, traditional worship, I wouldn't put the hymns. I would put the names of the hymns in and then give it to our organist, who's me. But if we had somebody else, but you could have them on the iPad too. That's totally something so that if the person who you're having play that week isn't able to get a hymnal, which might be weird, but I'm just giving examples. You could have them on there so they could just log into their iPad and play it from home.
Right. Right. Connectivity, better communication. There's less room for error in communication. I mean, there's many times you think about, oh, I thought we were going to do this liturgy, or I thought we were going to do this song, or I thought we were going to have this person was preaching on this text. Well, now you have a central hub spot where your pastor goes to and puts in their text, where they're going to go with their message. You come in as the worship director or the music director, whatever your situation is, put in the music that you're going to do. And it just, again, it's an online, ever-changing platform that you can
And
keep updated.
especially, yeah, and especially like for smaller churches, the cost of it is super reasonable.
Right.
I've never had any complaints about it. You think about all the paper that you're saving, all the printing you're saving, all the headaches that
Yeah.
you're saving. But I think it's like
Right.
it's pennies for your smaller
Right.
congregations, and it kind of goes up in
Well, I
chunks
remember,
after that.
yeah, for sure. And I remember doing, or we would text out on like every Wednesday or whatever. I don't remember what days of the week it was. We would text this out, and then I would email this out, and I would try to get confirmations. Then I would try to email the music out in advance, and then I would try to do this in advance. And it was like, it's hours in just music and people management that you have to put in every week. And that was just normal. That was just part of what the job looked like at the time. So to find Planning Center online services, it's wild how much time that saves you, that you can then start doing things that you never thought you had time to do before, because now you have the time to do these things. It sends out automated reminders to your team. Hey, be ready for rehearsal at this time this week. Like that just gets sent out automatically. You set the reminder one time. Hey, I want everyone on this team to remember, every Sunday morning team to get an email on Friday morning. Hey, get ready for this weekend. It's going to be awesome. We're pumped to have you there. Thanking them again. Whatever it is. So there's, and I think they're going to keep evolving. They're a company that has grown big time. Churches have obviously taken on their services. They've done well, and they keep like evolving and coming out with new features every few months. So I mean, I'm really pumped to see what they do in the future too. So highly recommend them.
I've gotten to meet those guys, and they're so passionate. Like they're and
are most of them pastors?
They're in ministry. Yeah. And that's what I love about the different products that we're recommending through these different Q&As. We're talking about presentation next week. We already have a lot of questions about that. But most likely the ones that we're recommending are people who work in the church and then create tech for the church, knowing the needing the hurt, knowing the obstacles that need to be addressed, versus a tech company who's trying to market something for a church, which there are out there. And that's one of the benefits of this, is that we've already gone through those and figured it out which ones are the best. But we love that because they work in the church, they struggle through the struggles we have, and they created it for all of us. Yep,
absolutely.